Hi everyone. So today we're going to pick up at lesson 7-2. Yesterday we talked about, or the other day, we had a lesson on finding the area of parallelograms. This is going to be solve triangle area problems. So we're going to be finding the area of triangles today. But first, I have parallelogram in front of us. It's parallelogram ABCD. And if we want to find the area of this parallelogram based on the last lesson, we would do area equals base times height. So if I said the base of this parallelogram was 5, and the height would have to be, remember the height forms a 90-degree angle. The height could be 4. I'll make it inches. You would be able to figure out the area. And so area would equal doesn't really matter. 5 times 4, base times height, we get 20 inches squared for our area. Now, what if I were to take this parallelogram, I'll change colors, now we're to cut it in half like that? What if I were to look at this triangle here now? I made 2 triangles. Take a second and think, what would the area be of just the yellow section now? Go ahead if you want to pause the video, explain to your parents, explain to, write your thoughts down, explain to your dog. What is the area of just the triangle? Many of you probably said the area is 10, and you probably thought that because that triangle is half of the parallelogram. So we're actually going to take half of our area, and half, we have 1/2 times 20 to get half of it. Also, some of you like decimals more. You could use area equals 0.5 times 20, and that's going to give us an area of 10 inches squared. So all triangles, just like this triangle here or the other one over here, all triangles could be half of a parallelogram. So to find the area of any triangle, our formula is going to be very similar. Let me just clean up a little bit. To find the area of a triangle, we're going to say that our new formula is area equals 1/2 times the base times the height. Because the parallelogram is the base times the height, and a triangle is just half of that. Also, another way you could find it, very similar formula, but to find half of it, you could do the base times the height, and then divide that by 2 to get half of it. Either of those will work. So let's look at example 1. If you're in your book, following along in your book, this is on page 394, and this just kind of goes over what I just said. It says a parallelogram can be decomposed. That word decomposed means broken up into 2 identical triangles. So if we look here, here's our parallelogram going right there. There's the base and the height. So, but because we're taking only half of it, we're only going to have half the amount of area. Let me shade in half of it. There we go. So we're only going to have half the area. So instead of base times height, we're going to take, let me see if I can move this around. Oops. It's a learning process for all of us. It's not working. The area of one triangle is half of the area of the related parallelogram. So the parallelogram was area equals base times height. For a triangle, it's just going to be 1/2 of the base times the height. And again, you could either do it that way. The way I always kind of did it was a little shortcut. And the way I did it was area equals the base times the height divided by 2. All right, so let's look at example 2. Again, if you're in your book, this is now on page 395. If you see up top there, it says find the area of the right triangle. So for this right triangle, the height's not going through it because the base and the height already form a 90-degree angle. I'm going to let you pause the video for a second and see if you can figure out the area of that green triangle right to the right. So again, we always start with the formula. Area equals 1/2 times the base times the height. I'm going to substitute in that formula now because I know it's going to be area equals 1/2 times, it looks like the base is 8, times 8, times the height, which is also 8, times 8. Now, because of the commutative property and the associative property, I could solve this any way I choose. So I'm going to do 8 times 8 first, which is 64. Area equals 1/2 times 64. To do that, I can put 64 over 1. Simplify, I get 1, 2 from 2. If I divide 64 by 2, I get 32. This will give me 32 over 1, which is just plain old 32. Again, another way to do that would be area equals base times height, and then divided by 2 to get half of it. So I could say area equals 8 times 8 divided by 2, and that will give me 64 divided by 2. And then if I do 64 divided by 2, bring down my 4, I get 32 as well. So I'm going to say the area of this birdhouse, that triangle right there, the front of it, the area equals 32 inches squared. Okay, so it's almost like the formula of parallelogram, but then you take half of it because any triangle is half of a parallelogram. So last problem, last example, still on page 395. So here it says Caitlin drew the triangle shown below. What is the area of the triangle? Now, the base and the height of this triangle are going to depend where we're looking at. So let's pretend 10's the base. I want you to think about this for a second. What number there would be the height if we call 10 the base? You go ahead and pause and try to think about which number would be the base. Okay, welcome back. So if we say the base is 10, the base and the height have to form a 90-degree angle. If I look right here, that 5 does not form a 90-degree angle with our base of 10. If I look over here, the 16 does not form a 90-degree angle. So the height of this, is going to be over here. I would have continued the base going out and then measured up there to find that 90-degree angle right there, but they actually did it the other way. They went over here and then up and then over to the top of it, and they said the height is 8. So the base and the height have to form that 90-degree angle. So I'm going to say area equals, I'm going to start with the formula. Oops. Area equals 1/2 base times height. So for a triangle, it's going to be area equals 1/2. We're going to say our base is 10 right there. So 1/2 times 10 times our height has to form a 90-degree angle. So it's going to be that 8 right there times 8. I could do this as 1/2 times 10 would be 5, or I could say half of 10 is 5. So area is going to equal 5 times 8, and that gets me area equals 40, and the units are feet squared. Another way you could have done this, if I clear all that writing, this triangle actually has more than one base. So the other way of doing this is I could say the base of this triangle is 16. And that might be a little hard to think about because 16 is kind of upside down from us right now. But if I say that's the base, there's still a height that measures 90 degrees going right there. It forms a 90 degree with that base. So I should get the same answer of 40. So I'm going to say area equals, I'm going to use base times height divided by 2 for this one. Area equals 16 times 5 divided by 2. Area equals, if I figure out 16 times 5, I will get 80. I'll have 80 divided by 2, and therefore area equals 40 feet squared. So really important, make sure your base and your height form a 90-degree angle. If I go back to example 1, again, the height, if you look at the bottom of the screen, here's the base going across there. The base and the height form a 90-degree angle to each other. Okay. Key concept real quick. It says you could use, let me highlight. This is on the next page. You could use the formula area equals 1/2 base times height to find the area of any triangle. So you just need some base, which is going to be a side, and you need to figure out a height that forms a 90-degree angle. So in this case, it's going there. For this first one, the base is 12, the height's 6, and there's the example right there. For the second one, it looks like the base, when it's a right triangle, it's going to be really easy because you're going to have a base of 15, a height of 8, and you can see every triangle here in the shaded area, it's half of a parallelogram, and that's why our formula works of 1/2 base times height. It's the same formula for a parallelogram, but then we take half of it. Last one, this obtuse triangle over here, I see a base of 8 centimeters, but if I look at it closely, this does not form a 90-degree angle going right there, so I need to erase that. So to find the height of this, they went to the outside and then up to the very top of it to find that height. There's that 90-degree angle, so the height would be 5 2/10 centimeters. Again, area equals 1/2 base times height. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Watch this video as much as you need to help you with the practice problems that you're assigned. I know students from my team are watching this, and some students from other teams are watching this. So watch this video to help you with any problems your teacher assigns, and feel free to reach out to them for any questions you may have. Have fun finding the area of triangles. Make sure you like and subscribe.